Mitch Garver makes the roster as we head in to the 2026 opening day. Let's talk about it.
Baseball stuff!
Joined here with a very tasty Space Dust IPA, nice little Seattle beer.
Good choice.
Just chilling in the fridge. Glad we were able to find it down here. Love local brews in the hometown. And yeah, we got a fun little episode tonight. We got opening week. Very, very, very excited for 2026 baseball in Seattle. A whole lot different vibe than just a year ago. I think everybody here last year, after just getting Donovan Solano, we were in a little bit, different wake of things. I think everybody's conversation was pretty much the same. But tonight we wanted to cover kind of, final roster. What does that look like? This rotation, what is that going to look like as we enter the first 10 games? Mitch Garver obviously making the roster is kind of big news, maybe for some, maybe even more for some. We're going to also talk about Cole Emerson, a potential debut, what that looks like. And then any missing pieces, question marks going into the season. Guys, we are 4 days away. 4 days away from taking on the Cleveland Guardians. And I'll pull up their starting five, just so we have an idea of who we're going to be attacking on them. We'll talk a little bit about Cleveland Guardians and then also finish up with predictions on the season. But before that, final roster, I'll pull it up here. Let me know your guys' thoughts on this final roster. What's your guys' thoughts and feelings on this final roster as we kind of, head in to the regular season? Nosy, we'll start with you. What's your thoughts on this roster? Let me pull it up here. We got Bizzardo, Brash, Castillo, Criswell, Fair, Gilbert, Hancock, Hopi, Kirby, Legamino, Miller, Munoz, Spire, Vargas, Wilcox, Wu, and Zulueta, who I love that they have them on here right now. And I think, this is the active roster right now. That's all your pitchers for the moment. Then you got Kinzer, Johnny Pareda, Cal Raleigh, and it looks like they haven't quite updated it with Mitch Garver just yet, but also Ryan Bliss, JP Crawford, Brendan Donovan, Miles Mastroboni, Josh Naylor, Leo Rivas, Cole Young, Randy Arozarena, Dom Canzone, Luke Raley, Rob Snyder, Victor Robles, and Julio Rodríguez. For the moment, I would imagine there's still some roster cuts. I didn't count this up, so I don't know exactly how many numbers they're at currently, but I guess just, general thoughts on heading into this season and the roster. Nolsey, we'll toss it to you first.
I think for the pitching staff, everything makes sense. I mean, you look at, we talked about, okay, who was going to kind of be there before, while I think Miller's probably out. Criswell, Hancock, they're both here. Criswell had no options, so definitely makes sense here. And he pitched well. Same with Hancock. So I would say right now, for the time being, Hancock's your number 5 with Criswell being your long reliever. Mitch Garver, being named that backup catcher. Catchers have a whole different, they're not looked upon for their bat at the end of the day. They're looked upon as how they manage the staff, how they manage pitchers, and the game itself defensively. I still remember, I can't remember the guy's name. The Mariners had him, it was years ago. I think it was some 40-something-year-old. The guy had a career average, I think it was under 220. But the guy was a long-term veteran, and it was because he was that good behind the dish. So, I think Garver, he knows the staff. And he can bring some power. Now we unfortunately don't have Harry Ford in the taxi squad to really kind of, drive up those numbers when we need him to. But, I think, he'll serve that role well. He did it last year. I think he serviced it well. Outfield, everyone there makes sense. I know we're paying Refsnyder $6 million, but just the way he played this spring and the way that you saw the emergence of Brandon Davis, there's an argument there to say maybe he deserved the shot over Refsnyder if you take the money away. Again, you're paying a guy $6 million, but to me, I know how good Refsnyder is. You look at his stats over the last few years. I mean, when it comes to left-handed pitching, he's that guy. But it's just hard to deny what Brent Davis did. I mean, it looked good all spring. So the outfield, we have so many people that, I mean, you could have interchanged in the outfield. So I don't know. I just think Brennan Davis should have maybe had an opportunity to make this roster, but if not, he'll. I think he continues to crush in AAA. He's maybe your first guy up from the outfield, but we'll see. Other than that,
I love Brennan Davis. It's a great topic that you bring him up. Noticing that he does have options, I think, still available, and understanding his situation. It's worth noting his situation versus Ref Snyder versus the investment financially that you made to him and everything. Chad, we got fire and ice as we always do with this one. I'm gonna toss it over to you. I guess we can kick it off with your thoughts on Brennan Davis and the outfield situation with Rob Ref Snyder, just that roster spot in general.
Well, I mean, I feel like that, and it's kind of nice this year. I mean, you kind of look at our position group and really right field's and a little bit of DH, but right field's going to be that one where you're going to see a lot of interchanging, a lot big time platoon. And it's also nice too, where you have a lot of depth, where I look at, you've got a guy like Davis where he's had a really good spring. Yeah. I mean, I feel like he's a guy that could be in the roster. Like you mentioned, Gavin, he's got options. It's a nice little piece to have in AAA, where him and Thomas are going to be those guys that Riley and Thomas are going to be the guys that can be called up for that outfield spot. And also don't forget about Connor Joe. I mean, they're keeping around too. So
he did Gavin, just get optioned, or sorry, reassigned to AAA.
He's playing tonight. So I mean, that's the nice thing, that they're doing the respectful thing. He's a good veteran, a guy that can play corner, outfield, infield. He'll play some first base, can play some DH. So he'll be a guy that you'll like to have just in Tacoma. And so I love that they're giving him some at bats here late in the spring. But what I wrote down too is just, I love the fact that, like, going into the spring, there was a couple of really pitchers that I really like. Cooper Criswell, it's nice to see that he's had a solid spring, and Cole Wilcox still hanging around. He's had a pretty solid spring too. So
he just got reassigned today.
He did get reassigned too.
He just
not even guys. Hey, before we keep going,
not even 2 hours ago. Let me see if I can find the. I know it was.
I can pull it up if you want on Twitter, if that's helpful.
I think it's probably waiver wire.
Pull that up soon.
That waiver wire would be good notes to have.
Yeah.
Let me.
But either way, I mean, there's the way I look at it. We've had a lot of guys. I guess we'll pivot here. I mean, we've had guys that have had good springs.
So this was just a couple hours ago.
Gotcha.
You had Johnny Pareda, Cole Wilcox, Yasver Zulueta, Connor Joe, and Brock Rodden. So yeah, it's.
Well, I mean, the way I look at it is that number 5 starting pitcher then with Cooper, like how that's going to look like between him and Hancock. Is somebody going to be like that bridge, like the opener, right? I'm curious on how that is going to look like in our rotation. That's still kind of undecided. And then also just the catcher position, obviously hearing about Garver getting the opportunity to take that backup role again when he had a dinger tonight, boys. And
110 off the bat.
Okay.
110 off the bat.
Yeah, it's really nice to see. And you got to root for a guy that's been around the team now for 2 straight years, been grinding, been a part of that playoff team. So it's nice to keep another piece of that last year's puzzle around.
Yeah, I think Mitch Garver makes a lot of sense because offensively, yeah, there's a ton of other guys that you can go get that are probably going to help you out better, whether they're off the bench, DH, or helping in some capacity as an offensive. But what he brings to the locker room and what he brings to to that pitching staff, where he has familiarity with them, and actually some people I think want to throw. I think George Kirby enjoys throwing to him. Logan Gilbert enjoys throwing to him, and I would imagine a handful of these relievers that have been around for a while enjoy throwing to him. Mitch Garver does make a lot of sense there. Curious if he makes it a full season with the Mariners. I don't know what that end is going to look like. He's going to have to do some proving, a little bit of a prove it scenario. But no, this is a guy that's been around the organization for the past couple of years. Really rooting for the guy. Super nice guy. I know he was getting a lot of heat 2 years ago when we just signed him for that big deal, and Mariners fans were just I don't even know how to put it nicely. They were just at him. They were just going at him with everything. And I reached out to him and tried to send him a positive message saying, hey man, I hope that you find I hope that you find happiness again with this game, because this game is not friendly to hitters. You can have 2 bad weeks and it can really, really bring you down. So hoping that I really think Cal Raleigh had a lot to do with this. I see it everywhere on Twitter as well, but I think Cal Raleigh really had a lot to do with why Mitch Garver is on the opening day roster. But without further ado, Emily, what are your thoughts on this roster and just everything that you're kind of seeing from the spring training?
Yeah, I mean, a friend and I were talking about today, just on the subject of Mitch Garver, because I'll forget, that something that a lot of people are talking about with Cal is trying to get him to take just a few more DH days, just because, as he's getting older, he's not getting older, but you know what I mean? Like, it's so much work to be a catcher, right? It's arguably the most intensive position you're ever going to play in baseball. And if you want him to take more DH days, then you want him to have a backup catcher that he trusts. And so he was the one who reached out to Mitch Garver. He's the one who encouraged him to call the front office. You have these pitchers who've said that they want Mitch Garver on, that they really like having Mitch Garver back there as their backup. And so I would imagine there probably was a piece of that, right? Because if you really do want Cal to take more days at DH, so to prolong his career and to take care of his body so he's able to go deep into a postseason, you want him to have a backup catcher that he knows can do the job well out there. But yeah, I mean, this roster is shaping up so well on the whole. I was really rooting for Mitch Garver to be our backup. I just really like him. I think he's a good fit. But yeah, I mean, I think the biggest questions right now are, are we going to see one of these outfield guys that we saw do really well in spring? Are they going to be moving into one of these outfield spots, depending on how Refsnyder or Robles or, whoever, how they're doing? But I mean, I just feel like.
Don't forget about Raleigh. Rayleigh's going to get some at-bats in right field, I think.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean, Luke Rayleigh's he's had a really good spring. He's been really fun to watch.
He's so healthy.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing for him. Like
he's healthy. Yeah,
he had such a tough start to the year last year. It never got right. Just could never. No. He had the world's worst luck. So he's got to be the guy you're like rooting for, like comeback Mariners Player of the Year kind of guy. I feel like.
Absolutely, and I mean. You've got that. And then, I mean, like, I just think, the difference between, like, if you were looking at 2025 to 2026, it's like we have this total opposite where last year it felt like we had a ton of gaps and now we have a ton of log jams. And it's like, okay, that's what a good problem to have compared to last year, right?
We don't know what we're going to do at the trade deadline because, like, last year's like, okay, well, we clearly need a third baseman probably.
After seeing Polanco. yeah.
After seeing Polanco. That was no fun to watch.
Can we call Cole Emerson at 19? Like, can we do that?
I would say if there's any place that I feel like we need potentially help in the trade deadline is our bullpen. I don't feel super satisfied with who I was really rooting for either Zulueta or Wilcox to stick around in the bullpen. I don't think that Casey Legumina is the guy for that, but that's just me. I mean, he's had some really great moments, but I don't think he has the consistency. And yeah, Zulueta had a rough outing yesterday, but all things considered, spring was really good for him. And so I think if we're going to have anywhere that we really need to like focus, barring some major injury, I think our bullpen's going to need help in July if we're going to take it deep, because I think that's where we saw the biggest gap in the postseason last year was not having a bullpen that could really be sustained when our starters were obviously gassed. But yeah, I mean, again, good problem to have.
I love that you brought up the bullpen too, because we see this in the Jerry Dipoto regime. We see this on a yearly basis. Guys will come in for 2 weeks and then they'll pitch good, and then they'll just get booted. Or guys will pitch bad, but they spare each other for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month at a time, and so we end up with like 20 plus relief pitchers at the end of the year. So I think Legumina to make the opening day roster, don't count them. Don't see the list of transactions after a couple of weeks and just see which names are on there, because I think there's going to be a lot of relief pitchers that just get shuffled around. And I think Yasser Zulueta, I think it's a great name to bring to the table. I think Yasser Zulueta within the first couple of weeks will get his opportunity somewhere, some capacity. I think he's earned that, in my opinion. I thought he had a great spring as well. It was the same thing that I saw from Tyson Smith a couple of years ago, and he made the opening day roster, and he was pitching great, and they just DFA'd him, picked up by the Cubs. I give this story probably once or twice a month every time I'm on this podcast. Tyson Smith was one of my favorites during that time, and then he goes and throws I believe it was a sub-2 ERA for the Cubs and had a great year. He wasn't doing bad. I was like, what are we doing here? Why are we letting good relievers go? But to everybody's point on the relief pitchers, I really think we're going to shuffle through a handful to find that core group. It just depends on where we're going to staff guys. And the first 20 to 30 games, Jerry's notorious for just kind of trying guys out. I think Brash and Mooney are probably going to be in the back end with Fair, and beyond that, it's everybody else's game. Well, Spire's on a downward spiral right now, so I would like to think that Fair is going to be.
He's thrown a lot of innings the last 2 years.
He's thrown a lot of innings. He threw a lot of innings, and he
leaned on him hard.
And I'm really glad. Like, we needed Jose Fair, and I think Jose Fair. I think Jose Fair, especially what we've seen over the last month of Spire throwing, we may lean on Jose Fair to be the number one lefty out of the pen for the time being, just so we can get a good footing on the season, or good grip on the season.
And I would be curious to know with Spire, because the one thing that was said about him going into last year was from the 24 to 25 season, he never stopped pitching. That was his big thing. He said, I didn't stop pitching. I kept throwing through the off season. So it's like, okay, is that now catching up?
Yeah.
You didn't take time off. I get that you did it to help keep yourself ramped up. I think you actually added velo during that time, but it's like
he came back 96, 97.
Dude, it's like, like Felix is the example of there's only so many miles on an arm. And did you potentially, well, it's a great thing that what you did, because it obviously made you who you were.
There's 162 games plus a postseason, man. You gotta
bingo, and then you had the WBC and this and that. Like, it's just like, I mean, another analogy you could look at is like the NBA players. The Golden State Warriors is a great example. Like, they were so good, and then it kind of fell off. Well, you realize they were in the playoffs doing this. They had that many extra games. 4 years later, it's like they played a whole extra season than everybody else. Like, of course, the legs are going to go downhill. So I'm just wondering with Spire, it's like maybe you should have taken some time off just a little bit, just to let your arm just relax. So again, hopefully maybe that's the guy that they lean on a little bit to give him a little bit of an interim break through the year, and then they can rely on him later, maybe towards the back end of the year. We'll see.
Yeah. And with this, I guess with this pitching staff, that was the next question I was going to get to is, what is this staff kind of shaping up like? Obviously Logan Gilbert's got the ball in game one. Behind it, I think it's unanimous. Number 2 is Brian Wu. I think we're all in alignment there. I don't need to ask anybody, or does anybody have any objection to that? If you do, there's the door over there.
I think that lines up perfectly with him pitching tonight. So I would agree with that.
So I've seen other reports where they had it lined up where Kirby was number 2, at least in rotation, in terms of when he starts.
Like I told you, I think this is all a novelty thing. It's kind of like where you at, like, what was your off season like? Where are you at, like, currently in spring? How does that kind of line up? It's maybe even a matchup thing too. So it's like, what are they looking at? So I don't know. I care about getting to the playoffs and who's that first starting pitcher that's going to be going. Like, that's the starting pitcher I want to talk about. Get me in October, baby.
And so, so the first 2, we got Gilbert, we got Wu. Are we saying Kirby's number 3? Miller 4, so. Or I guess Luis Castillo 4, and then
Castillo's 4.
Yeah, and I think Castillo 4, and then Miller. Has anybody seen any
would
update?
Be
the
5.
Last I checked, would be 5, but I haven't seen, I guess, the latest update to say if he's going to be ready for the start of the season, and I also haven't seen an update saying that he's going to start on the IL. I've just seen it's hinted that he might start on the IL. I just didn't know if you guys had heard anything on or seen anything on his whereabouts on where he'll start.
I haven't seen anything official, but I think that's everything that is being talked about and especially the way the Mariners have been playing their spring training games with getting, Criswell and Hancock pretty extended appearances to start games. I feel like they're planning for that, but I haven't seen any like official announcements.
And honestly, like I am okay if he takes a month off of the season. We have to lean on Hancock and Criswell and some of these other guys. I want him to be completely healthy for the biggest part of the year. As we've seen in years in the past, the first 20 to 30 games of the year, you can go 500 and you'll be just fine. You can go under 500. We've been under 500 and still been set up for success later down the road, barring, that 14-game winning streak that we had going into the postseason in 2022. And then also when we made the postseason last year, we had that huge run in August. So we do need that. Like, that's the other hint of it. If you're going to be average or less than average at the beginning of the year, which they're always set up to do, you need to, pack it full in the summer months. So yeah, and I agree. I think Criswell or Hancock should be your number 5. I really want to see Hancock just straight out of the pen. I think we've all been on agreement with that. However, we've seen him just going back and forth with Hancock.
I think it's going to be, Criswell, I just look at what Criswell's done. And like previously with the Red Sox, he was their opener and he'd go like 2, maybe 3. If he's dealing, I've seen him maybe have 1 or 2 starts. We went 4. And then there's a starter that went behind him. I think it'll be that same way with Hancock. Cause I agree. I think Hancock's better coming in a little bit later. I think he's going to eventually be a long reliever. No offense. I haven't seen like that 3rd or 4th pitch develop yet. It's like,
stuff's nasty. And Dane Dunning just got pushed down to AAA, and everything's set up for a Criswell or Hancock long relief /5. And who knows, maybe they give Criswell the first start and then Hancock the second, or vice versa. And they just go back and forth to find out who has the more starter energy out of them until, Bryce Miller is back. But without going too far in depth on that, I think we have kind of those 2 guys fighting for that number 5 spot. And I don't know if it's much of a fight rather than whoever they deem as a better starter versus a better relief pitcher. And then Bryce Miller, as soon as he's back, obviously he's the number 5, and we're all excited to see him all ramped up and ready to go for the new year. I just want him fully healthy because he was shut down a couple times in spring training. So I don't want that guy to touch a baseball until he is 100% healthy. We have other guys to get the job done. Don't worry about pushing it, Bryce. We got 162 games. You'll be there for the ones that really matter. Kind of pivoting to the Cleveland Guardians, looking up their first 3. Tanner Bibby is going to be their opening day starter, followed by Gavin Williams, shout out ECU, and then Slade Giacone. And then behind that, they have Joey Cantillo and Parker Messick. They have a pretty good staff. I'll give them that. They have a pretty good staff. I like Gavin Williams. I liked him when he was at ECU. Tanner Bibby has done a phenomenal job. So, what are your guys' thoughts going into this first series with where we're at against a very solid Cleveland Guardians team? Chad, we'll start with you this one. Looking at the Cleveland Guardians, they made it to the postseason, lost to Detroit in the first round. They have a good, solid team coming back. What are your thoughts with us adding Brandon Donovan, us getting Josh Naylor back in the fold full time? What's the thoughts here?
Yeah, I'd be curious in how we did last year's. I feel like it was actually a pretty tough series every time we've played the Guardians. It's just always a good ball team. I love Steven Kwan too. He was a guy that I wanted in the offseason as a leadoff hitter, but we got our leadoff hitter. We got Brandon Donovan now too.
We got our guy.
Just really as far as like a lineup, just how it's all the makeup of it. I just feel like it's just so much deeper than we've ever had before. There's no holes. I love everything about our lineup. So I love going into the matchups there, how that looks from a pitching perspective. We have a great rotation. So it's like you look at the Guardians and they're maybe a wild card team. So I think they could be a team that gets jumped. I think the Kansas City Royals win that division. So
that's you're saying thought. The Royals?
I think Bobby Witt is going to be the MVP.
You're saying the Royals over the Tigers who just added Framber? I like it.
I'm
Hey,
100% with you, Chad.
I'm a Royals
it.
guy this year.
Yeah,
I
and
like
call me
it.
crazy. Bobby Witt's going to put up crazy numbers.
Oh
It's
yeah,
gonna
no,
be
he
his
puts up
year.
crazy
He's gonna
numbers.
put-
They have Cole Reagans. I just didn't think, and Vinny Pasquantino. The Detroit is so stacked, and they got Kevin McGonigal that's knocking at the door, and they got Kerry Bonds, who's I love that there's some because it's been unanimous on everybody I've talked to that the Tigers are running away with that division with the addition of Framber Valdez. So that's a good one. That's a good one. I like it.
How he's going to play outside of Houston. I don't think he's worth the contract.
Oh no, he's definitely not worth the contract, but he's another guy to add to that great pitching staff and the team that they have. The team, like they're bringing all their guys back, and they're projected to graduate Kevin McGonigal, who's arguably the best.
He's so good.
He's so good. Him and Connor Griffin. He
didn't make the team, right?
No, I don't think he did. I haven't been keeping tabs on them, but I didn't.
I know Connor Griffin didn't, but I don't think Kevin did either.
No, it would have been breaking news.
But they won an extra year.
They have a rags of riches of infielders though. They have like Jace Jung too. Is like nobody's even talking about him. He's probably gonna
if Colt Keith
traded.
If Colt Keith, who's I think entering his third year, he's still young. He's still good. And Kerry Carpenter's turning a corner in his career. They have I'm blanking on his name. You can see his face. The left fielder, Riley Green. Yeah, their team is stacked. I like Riley Dingler, the catcher
at first base. He
Torkelson.
Finally turned a corner this last year too. So I mean, you're not wrong. Like I like Detroit. I love the parody. I love the other side of the argument, saying that the Royals are gonna take this division this year. It's awesome. I love because it's it's going against the grain. I love anything that goes against the grain, especially when it's not even close to Mariners talk. I think one thing we can all agree on, if you want to make some easy money bet would be Kansas City Royals making the playoffs.
Okay.
It probably
hammer
like
it.
plus 110, I'm guessing. Somebody look it up for me.
If you got $10, hammer it.
I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah.
That's
I just think
that's always hard though with the ease.
Nosy, Emily,
that's a
want
hard
to get
one.
your thoughts on heading into the Guardians series. Thoughts on this roster as we're heading into that series.
I mean, I just think the roster that we have.
Shout out to Walt.
Go ahead.
Emily, you go for it. Emily, all yours.
I was just going to say that I think that where we're at right now, that I think that a lot of these series that we really struggled are going to be really different now that we have a much more contact-oriented lineup with Brendan Donovan and Josh Naylor. I mean, I would say that, we're a little bit less on the power side. I mean, we definitely have power hitters that we can rely on, but I think what was such a thorn in the side of the Mariners last year was you had all these guys who, they would have these, massive pop outs or these massive fly outs, or, there was a lot of swing and miss. I think we're going to have a lot less of that this year. And so that just changes a lot of the ways that pitchers are approaching us, because we do have that now that we haven't before. Right. And so, or haven't in a long time. And you think about, I know I've made the same reference before, but when I think about our series against the Blue Jays last year, that was the most frustrating thing, or not the series, but in the ALCS. That was the most frustrating thing, is it just felt like you could never get them off the base path, right? They're always hitting for contact, and sure, they have power hitters too. I mean, obviously they have Vladdy, he's ridiculous, right? But when you have that kind of that feeling of just being a base path menace as a team, it changes what teams are pitching to you. And I think that that's one thing that teams are not, they're going to have to adjust to us as they watch the way we play. And so I think that, I think the Guardians series, I mean, obviously they have really good pitchers. I really like their team. I really like a lot of the people that they have on their team. But I think it's going to be a very different feel than when we've played them, last year. And I see us, at least going, either splitting it 50-50 or, winning that series, just because I think it's going to be just, when you have Brendan Donovan leading off, and he's just been raking in spring training. I'm not too worried about it, but I'm excited to watch it.
Also, from a lot of the people that are on the scene and just kind of giving what they can on Twitter and everything, the presence of Brendan Donovan has been very similar to the presence of Josh Naylor. So it seems like it's a very seamless shift. Adding him to the locker room was a very, very, very net positive. And I love it. I love that they got this guy in there and he hit the ground running, and we have all this fuel coming off of last year. Chad, I know you were itching to say something there.
Oh man. I mean, you saw his like opening interview too. I'm like, how could you not fall in love with that? Like mixture. He's a little bit more on the serious side, like when comparing to Naylor. But as far as like philosophy of how hard they work day in, day out, you can see a lot of commonalities there. And it's clear like the philosophy they want in that clubhouse, and they're keeping the consistency with the guys they bring in. Guys, this front office, they're firing all cylinders, man. They're firing on all cylinders, and you gotta love that. I mean, that was the nicest surprise of this offseason. Like Emily, you brought up just Brandon Donovan and like how this is gonna do for the series. I just think it's like how it's gonna do for the season. It's like overall, it's just I think the production we'll be able to have from it.
I love the trade too. I'm rooting for Ty P. I hope he goes and has a great career in St. Louis, and then Sinja. I hope he goes and has a great career over there. And
where were they going to play though?
Well, where?
Yeah, like I mean, obviously, sometime like Sinja was close, like maybe a year out, but Pete they're 3 years out, so a little bit harder to project. But looking at like
Cardinals
the guys would have had.
Well, I mean, where would they play? Oh, where would they play with the Mariners?
Yeah, where were they going to play?
Well, yeah, I mean, so I guess Sinja was a little bit closer than, obviously Cade Anderson and a couple of those other guys. So at the end of Luis Castillo's contract, the next logical person would have been Sinja, or you tap on him for the next year or two just to see what he can look like at the major league level, and then you kind of advance him from there. But yeah, it's by the time he's a full-grown starter, he's 26, 27 years old, and he's wasting his good years of his career when he could be going to a team like the Cardinals and get up this year and then be fully on ramp by next year. So I agree. I think it was best for his development and his career to go do that, unless we wanted to move him to the pen. If he wanted to be just a right-handed pitcher and just go out of the pen, I think he'd be absolutely dirt nasty and be an absolute dude for us. But hey, I'm very happy for him in his career. And Brendan Donovan is he's an extension candidate, in my opinion, over a couple other guys. Like I think he's an extension candidate over a guy like Randy Rosarena and stuff like that. So it proved it's just, the other guys that you do have coming up. It's like, okay, you got Cole Young. Is he going to be your future second baseman forever? You got Cole Emerson, and you got, Ryan Bliss, all these other guys, where do they end up factoring in? And it's a good problem to have. Don't get me wrong. It's a good problem to have, but yeah, Brendan Donovan is a major league hitter, a professional hitter at that. And just so excited that he's with us. Nolsey, I know I cut you off there. What are your thoughts, going into the series and everything?
First off, I want to give a shout out to Wazoo alum, Kyle Manzardo. Love this guy. Loved everything about him. Obviously Travis Bazzana, Oregon State. I'm not sure if he's up with the major league club yet, but the way he played this spring, damn near close. If he hasn't already, but no, love Manzardo, great bat. Hopefully we see him first base DH. But beyond that, and Chad, you were right. We were very close, and we were 4-2 against them last year. 2 of our wins we won by 5 or more runs, and then the rest of the games were 1 or 2 run games. So it was all very close. And they're a good club. But I think for the Mariners, the biggest thing is, just to me, it's always the 7th through the 9th inning. How do we manage that? Because it seems like there's times where we just kind of dilly-dally around, and then it's like, okay, what are we going to do? Are we going to, put it on, or are we just going to kind of falter? And again, that kind of leads into our bullpen. How is our bullpen going to handle that, getting into those late innings? We look at some of the guys like, Cal, he gave me some question marks. I mean, you look at what he did in the WBC. While he was walking, the guy was striking out a ton. And then he gets here, I think not yesterday's game, the day before, he was 1 for 5 with 4 Ks. It's just, that's a lot of Ks. And so again, maybe he's working on something leading up to the year. But again, you look at the rest of the team, Donovan's a dude. I will eat crow. I was not excited about the trade. Just where we going to play him? Was that a lot to give up for a guy that might be a third baseman? But he's been great. And the people you gave up, I think maybe were easier to give up because you had a Ryan Sloan, you had a Kate Anderson, and then on that you also had Johnny Farmello, who was a phenomenal outfielder. Someone I would say is probably would have been closer to playing than Taipei. Also, Rylan Thomas had a phenomenal spring. Another guy that maybe you could say competed for a roster spot on the Major League club this year. But, ultimately, I think it's just what we do in those last few innings is going to be what I think how, for at least beginning of the year, what I want to see. So, Cal, reduce strikeouts. Brendan Donovan, do your thing. I'm bummed JP is going to be hurt because I think him in that 9-hole and can really establish himself as that guy with Brendan Donovan solidifying as our leadoff hitter makes this lineup so dangerous because you can see what JP did last year in the 9-hole. He was great.
Well, I mean, JP with the ABS too
got to be damn near 400.
JP with the ABS
he's
system,
got a phenomenal eye. So
I love him at the 9-hole. He makes a great 9 spot that turns over the lineup and everything. Nosey, I know you do have to get out of here semi soon, but wanted to toss it back to you. Over under 1 month for Cole Emerson to make his debut. I figured this was a good to anybody listening out there. I figured this was a good. Does he get called up and get the Mike Trout treatment, or and I'm not comparing him to Mike Trout. I'm just saying Mike Trout got called up within his first 2 weeks of the season. We've seen it happen on other teams. We've seen it happen on our own team. So you're saying over?
I say over just because, again, if JP's back in that month, he's obviously going to be there. Cole Young, I think, has shown a ton of growth in this last year. Again, would you shift him over? Would you make some arrangement? Would you move Donovan to second? Could you put Cole Young at short? I don't see him coming up in a month. Now, again, unless he does like a Kyle Seager move in AAA where he just goes just absolutely unconscious, I just don't see it happening. Again, to bring a guy up to, okay, you're going to start, these first 2 games, JP comes back, now you're on the bench. Does it really help his development? I mean, do you want to give him that taste? Sure. I don't see it. I just think there's other guys, there's other positions. Again, you talked about it. Ryan Bliss is still on this roster. Miles Mastroboni is still on this roster. Would you want Cole Emerson to take over who, again, no major league experience early on? Again, these games do matter at the beginning of the year. I think we, as Salem Mariners, understand that the games in April are just as important as the games in September. If there's nobody else, sure. But I don't see him coming up this early. I mean, I would say it's going to be closer to the second half of the year.
That's fair.
That comes at all this year.
Yeah. And to be honest, I kind of agree
with
you.
It's a Harry Ford situation, in all honesty.
Yeah, to be honest, I put the question out there because I think it's a good over-under whether he gets his opportunity. Emily, I'll toss it over to you. Over under 1 month, does Cole Emerson make his debut?
I'm also going to stick with the over on that. I mean, I think that with what we have going in the infield right now, even with the backups to JP, if you want to say that, I just don't see. I don't see the team taking Cole Emerson and putting him in a situation where he's not getting everyday at bats. I don't. Our team is so for all the grief that we've given the front office over the years, I do think that one of their biggest strengths obviously has been their player development side and their desire to make sure that players. I mean, they end up living in AAA for way too long, if we're being honest. But also, I just don't see them calling Colt up unless they have a true need for him. And at this point, they don't. I mean, I just don't think that there's a place for him that isn't already satisfied by Leo Rivas and Ryan Bliss. And just when you have Cole Young, who, I mean, he played shortstop yesterday, and game that, or not yet, was that yesterday or was it the day before? Whichever game, I think it was yesterday. So they are trialing these guys at different spots or whatever, right? And I just don't see a place for him yet. But I do think he will make his appearance this year. I think that some way or another he's gonna make his way up. But I don't think it'll be. I agree with you, Kyle. I think it's probably going to be closer to later in the season.
Yeah. In the chat, I see a lot of head nodding. I'll toss it to you as well. What are your thoughts on that?
Ditto.
Ditto.
We'll go with the easy
team
pick.
over.
I feel like. I mean, anything's possible. Injuries can happen. Knock on wood. Hopefully, we don't see that in the last couple of days here in spring. It would require probably several, but yeah, I'm going to go with the over.
I think it's a team over. I just wanted to at least put it out there and say, does anybody, have him, making making an early debut earlier in the season?
He crushes it. I mean, if
does
be like right at that 30-day mark, like
to play the other side of the fence here. If he does the first 2 weeks in AAA and he has 8 bombs, if he's got that torpedo bat in him,
still hurts, right? Like,
yeah. So I just saying it's not completely off. It's maybe 99.9% chance, but it's not 100.
Nah.
So I just wanted to at least put that in the atmosphere. But before we move on to the next question, actually there's nothing in the middle of this. We'll get to this last question. Nosey, we'll start with you just in case you got to pop off. Prediction for the year, win total. What do we do in the division, and how far do you see this team going?
Where we predicted? What was the last?
The line's
89?
at 89.5.
89. Yes, 89.5.
Yep.
I'm gonna go crazy here. I'm gonna go 97 wins, but it's gonna be it's gonna be a very subtle first half, and we're gonna absolutely go nuts in the second half. So I think it's gonna be like there's no chance we get to that after the first half. In the second half, we turn a corner.
Perfect. Emily, what are your thoughts on sorry, Nosey, to wrap it up, how far do we go in the postseason? And I'm assuming
that's such a loaded question, because if I don't say, oh well, we're gonna sweep somebody in the World Series, I look like an ass.
You could just say, hey, this team's primed for a World Series run here.
I think if we handle business in the first series we play, I think we win the whole thing. But I think if we falter, kind of how we did with, the Tigers, that was a little bit of a scenario. Yeah. I just think it put us in a bad position against the Blue Jays. So I think if we can cruise through our first series, I think it puts it, again, with how our team is constructed today, with a healthy Miller, I think we win the whole thing. But if we falter out the gate in that first series, unfortunately, I think we get to a similar scenario as we did last year in the ALCS. Maybe something goes our way, right? But to me, it's going to be we make the playoffs, and if we can breeze through that first series, I think we're good. But it's going to be dependent on that series.
Fair enough. Emily, what are your thoughts on the year?
My first thought was I wanted to say 94 wins, but I don't know. I think we could even go further than that. So I'm going to say 94 to be safe and be pleasantly surprised. I also think the Mariners have a good chance to get a 100-win season this year. I know that's like shooting for the stars, but I think they have the team to do it. We're going to win the AL West. I don't think there's any. I'll be crying in my room by myself if we don't get the division this year, just based on the team we have and how not great the other teams look. And I agree with you, Kyle. I think if we can soar through the ALDS, I think that we'll win. I think we'll win the World Series. I don't think we're going to sweep anybody in the World Series, because I think the reality is the other team that'll likely be back there will be the Dodgers. I think it'll be a dogfight, but I think if we can get through the earlier rounds of the postseason easily, give our pitchers a little bit of breathing room, not have everybody be quite so gassed, I think we're going to win it all.
Love it. Chad, what about you?
Got to take the over. I'm at pretty close to you, Emily. I'm at 92 wins. I just feel like we have a more complete team to start the year, so I think we'll have a better first half, similar second half than we had. So yeah, I like us at 92 wins, and then we're gonna win the whole damn thing. That's my thought. I think this is our year.
go.
I feel like I look at it from, I mean, really when we got to 2021 is really when we started seeing this team start to come together, and you saw like the vision Jerry and team had, and they've stayed consistent. And I also look at from like a division perspective. I feel like we're a team that actually took a step forward. I think you can probably have a lot of question marks. Maybe Oakland probably is that only other team that I feel like actually got better. And that's mostly because they're very young. And so it's really just their own guys that are going to be improving the offseason. So from a division perspective, I think 92 is super easy for us and very obtainable, because I don't think any other teams are going to take this step forward. I think Oakland could be a team that battles for a playoff spot. That's a personal take of mine. I think they could finish second in this division. Astros, maybe if Jordan Alvarez can play over 80 games. So I feel really good as far as a division standpoint goes. And then from like an American League standpoint, getting to the World Series, like what does that look like? It's the Toronto Blue Jays, I feel like. I feel like that's the only other team I look at where like competitively we are right there neck and neck. They took a step forward just like us too. So
They took a slight step forward, and they took a slight step back with losing Bo Bichette.
Yes.
losing Bo Bichette, but they didn't have much of Bo Bichette last year, and they didn't need Bo Bichette. I feel like he wasn't a huge reason for their World Series run. That's just, I don't think he was like a huge piece. And when you got, I mean, they just have so many great pieces in that lineup.
They do. Yeah, they have other. They definitely have gained with prospects graduating and just with leveling up. And like you had said last year, raising the floor. They've raised their floor significantly higher, while other teams have either bottomed out on their floor or just kind of stayed stagnant.
Yeah, and I just look at, okay, so all right, get to the World Series is probably the Dodgers, unless something crazy happens. Like, how do you get past the Dodgers? I mean, well, they have a great lineup. You need to be quick to get to your bullpen. You have a really deep bullpen. So Emily, like, I like your thought of like, what does that trade deadline look like? Yeah, we're probably gonna be looking after who's the best relief pitcher we can add to that bullpen and make it look really nasty, because you should be comfortable with, if a starting pitcher is going in there quick, pull them. You should feel confident with your bullpen. You saw the Dodgers do that quickly during the playoff run too. So I think how you do it is if you do it the Dodger way too. Score a lot of runs, have a strong bullpen. But yeah, and I think the one thing we are still better at, we'll see how it looks, in season, but I think a rotation is better than the Dodgers too. So very close. It's a tough thing to say. People might call me crazy, but
I like it.
I'm going with it. Maybe
I like
it.
it.
Call it.
I like it. Yeah. Well, especially if Bryce Miller is. You go.
Oh, I was gonna say, like with our log jam that we have kind of in AAA right now with the outfield and in some cases pitching, could you see us actually making a move before the deadline for somebody? Again, we have a lot of outfielders that are going to be in AAA. An injury across the major leagues. I mean, who's to say we try to get a little bit greedy? Like, hey, you need somebody for the long haul. Hey, we'll give you this, but we want your top reliever in return, something like that. Like, do we see potential for, just because of it wasn't just arm. Gavin, you got the term. I can't think about it right. I can't think of the term, but like, just storing arms, which we've kind of done, but we've also stored outfielders. Stockpile season. But we've actually stockpiled not only pitching, but also outfield play. Who's to say we don't make a move earlier in the year for somebody else because there's a team that was desperately in need of a good bat? Brennan Davis is a really hot commodity right now, especially from what he's doing. So just kind of pitching that one out to the group, if maybe that's something that's plausible.
And just to wrap up, my take and I guess final thoughts. I think this division is slightly peskier than a lot of people give it credit for. The Astros always find a way to kind of hang in there. However, I think they're trending down. I think they're on their way to a potential rebuild. I hope I'm right on that, because I hate when Astros win, but I'm being honest here. I think they're on their way to a potential rebuild, and it really kind of hinges off of Yordan Alvarez. If Yordan Alvarez is plays less than 100 games for them, I don't think they're making the postseason. I think they'll hang around. They'll win some games that they're not supposed to win. But for the most part, I don't think they have the team set up to have a long playoff run. I don't think they're prime for that. However, they're going to snake some wins because they're still a really good ball. They're still, at the end of the day, it's still a really good ball club. The A's are going to be way more peskier than anybody gives them credit for. I think they have a chance to get to that close, 80, 85 to 90 win mark. I think they're going to be in that neighborhood and make a playoff push. And I think the other X factor for me is a team that just won the World Series a couple of years ago. The Rangers could potentially, they could turn on the Jets again. If Jack Leiter is, if he takes a step in his career, if Kumar Rocker gets the 5 ball and he's taking a step in his career, they have a chance to make that run back to being a very good ball club. They have other guys that just haven't stepped up. They have rookies, or I guess second or third year players, and Evan Carter, Josh Young, a couple of these other guys that could also step up in their career. If they do, watch out for them to be that dark horse for that number 2 seed, or even, be a 90+ win team, because they have a really good ball club. I think their bullpen is a little bit iffy.
Their rotation, it was like after DeGrom and
well, that's why you would need some of those other guys to step 100%. You would need Jack Leiter to take a turn in his career and be way better than what he's been. If he goes back to that guy that was drafted in the top 5 overall, if he's that pitcher, then he projects out to where he was supposed to be. Yeah, I think you're looking at a pretty good ball club over there. And then also the Angels, they picked up Grayson Rodriguez, and they always seem to play the Mariners kind of good. And they snake wins that they're not supposed to win. I'm hoping this year is not the year, but if they do end up snaking some wins, I got the Mariners at 91 wins for the year. And I know that's very, I guess, kind of low and more moderate compared to, some of the people that I've talked to. I said this, I got the over, and I said this on another podcast a couple of days ago. 91 is the low conservative, approach for me. But I think with that, they get into the postseason, they make a deep playoff run, and I think it's them and the Blue Jays staring at each other in the ALCS again. And winner. I think this year the winner of the ALCS will win the damn thing against the Dodgers. And I'm kind of hoping that maybe the Mets give the Dodgers the run for their money if they can keep healthy and their pitchers can, be what they're supposed to be and win some games. But I'm hoping that the Mets overstep the Dodgers on the NL side, which we just haven't seen the Mets be that team. However, Cohen has done exactly what an owner of a team's supposed to do, and just thrown money at this team to get them in that spot. But those are my final predictions. Any final thoughts before we wrap this bad boy up?
I have 3 more fun over-unders we can go through quickly. I don't know, Gavin, if maybe I just
throw them out.
I'm just gonna, you guys just say over-under quickly, but Cal Raleigh, big dumper, home runs, 44.5.
I got under.
Under. I hope I'm wrong.
Got over.
He's gonna hit 45.
45. We got 45. That's
Julio Rodriguez combined home runs and stolen bases. I really appreciate this, because as far as like most consecutive players, it's like him and Bobby Witt, and they're gonna be breaking records together year after year. But the fun part is Julio breaks it first, because I think he was brought up first. So you always hear that each year. But the line is set at 64.5.
Over.
Okay.
Over. I got Julio. To be honest, I got Julio breaking out for a potential 40 bomb season. I think he has a chance to do that. So that's, I got over.
Is he a 40-40 guy? Do you see him potentially 40-40?
I can see it.
Potentially. I think it's a 40-30 season, but it's going to be tough to hit that 40. That 40-40 bomb or 40-40 burger is just so tough.
And Julio's got to have a little bit better discipline on the base pass if he's going to get 40-40, because sometimes he looks like a golden retriever with squirrels out there. But
don't forget about the curveball away too.
The middle out slider. Ooh, goody.
And then so I think the other one, this was a good one too. I like over under 1.5 starting pitchers get Cy Young Award votes for Mariners.
Over under 1.5.
Yeah.
I'll go under. I'm gonna be a little bit pessimistic. Under.
Okay.
I'll go over. I think that I think that you're going to have a really great year out of both Logan Gilbert and Brian Wu.
I'm going to go over, but I think it's going to be Kirby. And I think Kirby's going to be in that mix. Honestly,
I was between Wu and Gilbert. I think Gilbert might actually have like the full healthy long season, so I kind of wanted to lean Gilbert on it. But I'm going to go over also.
Go over. I love it. Was there any other over-unders for us?
No, that's it, man.
That'll do it. For Up West Sports, that's Emily, that's Chad, that's Kyle. I'm Gavin. Just remember, life's too short. Gas up your boys. We will see you later.